Woo-hoo-hoo, and we're live once again on another Tuesday, and I think that music's getting faster. So I have
Yeah.
it does, it feels like it's sped up. So I have, it's kinda get to the point, get to the point. So I have a fabulous guest in the house, one of my fave peeps of all time on LinkedIn, the LinkedIn guru, Jeff Young. Put that hashtag in the right place, Jillian. And today we have an excellent topic. We are talking about what's in your content wallet because your content is currency here. So, Jeff, before we get stuck in with our conversation, please introduce yourself, tell people who you are and what you do, and then we'll jump right in.
Okay. Thank you. Woo-hoo-hoo indeed. Okay. Because I am so excited to be back with you. It's been a while.
It
It's really fun to
has.
be back with you. And I'm even more excited that I am now kicking off your second 100 LinkedIn Lives.
Woohoo.
This is
Woo.
this is such an honor to be 101. Okay.
I love it.
And
I love it.
so I will take it every time. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. If the people I invited show up, it is indeed across all of those time zones. I am Jeff Young, the LinkedIn guru. Namaste. If you look guru up in the dictionary, you see the word teacher. And of course, that is why I've got the last son of Krypton in the background here, because I sometimes introduce myself as, hi, I'm a teacher. What's your superpower? Okay.
I
So
love it.
enough of
Love it.
enough of that. But I definitely want to. This is one of my favorite topics, Jillian. It's fantastic to talk about. And I told you in the comments that for the show that I can just hear Samuel L. Jackson saying this. What's in your wallet? Okay, so it's amazing, and I think more than anything else, I think content is one of the best ways that you will ever establish any kind of a brand for you or your company, etc. And it's amazing to me that not a lot of people actually do it on LinkedIn.
No, it's a percentage. It's a I don't even know what our numbers are at now. It's like I think I had heard like 5%. It feels like it maybe is higher than that. I think like once we hit COVID, a lot of people started creating a little bit more content.
Yeah,
Plus also too, it is the wave of LinkedIn to encourage content creators, because we do have the button. We have all the bells and whistles, and there's some things that you can be a content creator for and you get extra like your newsletters and stuff like that. But LinkedIn Lives, you don't need to be a content creator. So it's kind of a mixed bag. I think LinkedIn's kind of trying to figure it all out, but definitely being a content creator, creating content, whatever that means to you, and we're going to talk about that.
yeah,
That really, you're right. It's a way of reflecting your brand, and it is something you do have to choose wisely, just like because it is currency and it is in your wallet. And I think that's probably the biggest mistake is people not having a plan. They're just posting and posting
yeah.
and
Well,
posting.
you're spending your valuable time creating this stuff, and if you're going to do it, there's a couple of different aspects of it. If you're going to do it, you might as well do it well. Okay,
Mm, mm.
first of all, and content creation. I was creating content long before LinkedIn came up with something called content, creator manager. Okay, so it's just not a piece of. It doesn't even apply to me as such, because I'd already turned things to a follow aspect long before that was the valid kind of thing. So creator manager is one of the things that I think they need to adjust a little as well. Just my humble opinion, but I would think that it would be in LinkedIn's best interest and in the creator's best interest if they decouple the fact that you turn creator mode on and
Mm,
you have a follow button. I think you should
mm,
have the ability to have creator mode on and have a connect button, because some
right.
people want to create content, but their focus is on making new connections. Okay,
Yes. Yes.
so
Especially if you're new, especially if you're new.
yeah, because if you're just getting started out, you kind of need to build that network, right?
Right.
And so that's the piece that's there. When I saw your live last week, it was great because I said, wow, almost everything she said applies to content in general, much less your LinkedIn lives. So that's why I said, let's go back and talk about some of those, and let's determine how that applies to content in general, not just to LinkedIn lives. So
I
that's
love
that's
it.
how we came up with this.
I love it. Okay, so here's the first one. Begin with the end in mind. So,
Yeah.
how do you think that applies to content, Jeff?
Yeah, overall in content, you have to have a purpose for doing this.
Mm,
If you're
mm.
just doing, if you, I love movie references. Okay, and so remember in The Odd Couple when
Yeah,
Walter Matthau throws the spaghetti against the wall to see, to
right,
see, and then Felix corrects him and says that's not spaghetti, that's linguine. But
right.
but Walter Matthau says now it's garbage. Okay, so so if you just throw stuff against the wall, that's all it's ever going to be. It's just something that's out there. Maybe it'll have a good impression, maybe it won't. But if you're not doing it for a purpose, the purpose
Mm,
of whatever your purpose, your goal of building a brand, your goal of building new customers, your goal of finding a job, whatever those kinds of things are, you need to have that in mind in the first place. Otherwise, it's so unfocused that it really it won't have any traction. Does that make sense?
yes, and yeah, absolutely, and in marketing terms, we call it when you confuse, you lose. You lose the audience because if people go,
Yep.
Now she's posting about this, now he's posting about that. I don't know what I'm gonna unfollow him because he's hurting my head. I every time I see him, it's a different thing. It's like people come to you. So it's like if you started posting about Twitter, Jeff, and the people would say, why is the LinkedIn guru now
Yeah.
he's talking about Pinterest? Like, what
Yeah.
is
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
going on? It
I can't
wouldn't
even
make
spell
any
Pinterest.
sense. It wouldn't make any sense. And it's the
Nope.
same with me. It's like sometimes I get an idea and I'm really excited and I want to post about it. And then I go, uh, it doesn't it
Fit.
doesn't further my goals. It
Yeah.
doesn't fit
Yeah.
in with what I'm about. And I go, and I let it go.
There's
I
only a
realize
Yeah,
it's
there's
not gonna
only a
work.
finite amount of time that you can actually spend doing this, and we'll talk a little bit about frequency here in a little while,
Right.
okay,
Right.
because there are people, honestly, in my humble opinion, who post too much. Okay,
Yes.
yeah, that's just me, and so there's a valid, there's a sweet spot somewhere for each person, whatever that happens to be. But once every 3 hours ain't it, as far as I'm concerned. Okay,
Right. Right.
so from that perspective, just keep in mind the fact that it's well, let's go on to the next one. Okay, it's about your audience. Exactly,
It's
it's about
all
your
about
audience.
your audience.
It's
Your
not
audience.
only about you, it is about what you provide to them, the problem that you solve for your
Mhm.
customers, the support you give to you. So in my case, my audience is, and it's a big audience, thank goodness, but it's about helping anybody I can on LinkedIn be effective at using LinkedIn. Okay,
Mm.
which is one of the reasons why I've concentrated myself more on followers than I have on connections. Okay,
Mm.
because I want more people to see it. And the amazing thing is, here's the thing, it's working for me. Okay, and
Mm.
because I focus on the audience, I focus on giving to the audience, which by the way is why I didn't post this week. I want people to go out to my profile and go look at my most recent post. Actually, my most recent post was a repost of this, okay,
Yeah.
because I was
Cool.
putting out to my network. Uh, we ought to talk about that too, to repost versus share. Okay, but anyway, but my point is, I didn't put out a new post because the post that I had done before that one was the one about give to your network. Okay, so
Mm.
do something that
Mm.
that make it about your audience, gives your network, make it about, well, the acronym give. Be generous, be interesting, be valuable, be exceptional. Okay, all of
Ooh,
those
I
kinds of
like that.
it was just something that came to me about a couple of years ago at least, right? Now I've been doing it. That's the thing about this. I've been doing this a long time. So from the I've been publishing content. I mean, when you first got on LinkedIn, you could even do that. It
Mm.
was just a place where you could put your resume online. Don't go there. Well, boy, that's the dark ages of LinkedIn. But when they started actually allowing you to post content, it blossomed into something that was totally different and has continued to do that. And some people now will say, "Oh, I'm really not that fond of LinkedIn because the content is all about personal stuff."
Mm.
Well, I could see where that logic comes from, but again, that's about their audience. As long as that personal stuff is related to their audience and it's meant to help your audience, then there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, I don't
Right.
believe.
Right, right. And I think it's really important to figure out if you can't answer the question of who is your audience, take a step back and really work that through. And I know, like, again, from a marketing perspective, a lot of people say, well, everyone is my audience. It's not.
No,
It's
not
not.
really.
If you're a job seeker, your audience is either colleagues who would like maybe recommend a job for you, hiring manager, recruiters. If you're building a business, think about who are you solving the problems for. It's
Yeah.
like my audience is probably the 40 plus. Well, not
Yeah.
probably, it is. It's
Me
my
too.
audience is the 40 plus. So it's like I'm not talking to 18-year-olds, but if 18-year-olds get value out of my content, that's
So
a
much the better.
win-win. But it
Sure.
just means, like, I always liken it to, like, if you have like a bullseye, you're trying to shoot for the center, the red dot in the center, the red circle in the center. But if it spills out into the other areas, that's okay. People will see it, it'll resonate for them, but you still have to figure out where is the bullseye? What's the target I'm
Yeah.
hitting
Yeah.
or I'm shooting for at least?
Everything you do should be aimed at that target. And my point being is that my target when I started, and to some degree still right now, is really my target isn't even on LinkedIn, but I'm trying to get people from LinkedIn to go to where I need to be to help them off of LinkedIn. My point being is that I've been doing, like I said, I've been doing this for a long time now. And my target audience is the target audience of seminars, LinkedIn seminars. I
Mhm.
want it to be in person, but obviously it ends up being LinkedIn Lives like this and Zoom, and it still has for the last
Right.
two and a
Right.
half plus years. But here's the key. You start looking at what you've accomplished. And I just looked at this the other day and I went, holy cow, I really am old. It's been a long time. Okay. But I said, look, I've been doing this for 15 years. Okay. 15 years times 12 months times an average of about 5 seminars a month. You
Mm.
do the math, folks. That's 900 seminars.
Wow.
That's a
Wow.
big number.
That is a
That's
big
9 times
number.
more than you've done of lives. Now, I hope you
Yes.
reach 900 lives, right? Because it's something again that you should be doing. You know, but I'm talking about that for in terms of that's what I'm talking about as far as value is concerned. All of that is my content as well, because almost all of the same kind of things that I say in those seminars ends up being in my LinkedIn tips where they belong,
Mm,
right?
mm.
So
That's good. That's good. And that gets us to the next thing. It's about your interests. And
yeah,
sometimes it has nothing to do with business. It can be personal. And it's like, you went on vacation and you told us where you're going on vacation. You were excited about that. You don't do a ton of personal stuff. I don't do a ton of personal stuff too. But when I got to the beach for my birthday, that was something that's, people know, hey, Jillian loves the beach. I have people that go on vacation and they send me pics of their seas and their oceans because I asked for it. I love it.
yeah.
That's my interest. So I think our interests are so important and it's not always business.
Well, and when you can get the synergy of both of those things at the same time, add value to your audiences and it's of interest to you, it's a win-win. I mean,
Mm,
that pretty much sums it up for me because I wouldn't be doing this if I wasn't interested in helping people be more effective on LinkedIn. That's me. That's what I want to do as well. So it dovetails so well with my putting content out there and helping people to do just that. And content is all content is short term, it's short form, it's long
mhm,
term, and it's long form. Okay. And I think
mm,
more than anything else, we talked about this before the show started. you know Here's something that I think is extremely important as well: repurposing your content or reusing your content as it goes forward. I mean, for example, my newsletters. Okay, I've now done 25 editions of my newsletters in 2 years worth of time. And I
wow.
got to tell you that I keep that as a cache of little gold over here in my wallet so that I can spend out some of those whenever I find someone who needs one of those topics, one of those
Mm,
chapters of my book, if you will, because I've called my newsletters my book before. Okay. One of those chapters so that I can point them to that and hopefully that will help them get to where they need to be. It will answer one of their questions. Okay. And that fits in long form content, that fits in short form content in terms of even a bookmark for a help. Okay.
Yes.
The bookmark that I keep for people who have LinkedIn users show up on the LinkedIn Lives, okay, is always there now, always available because I can grab it, drop it in the comments, and it's there to help that person if they want to actually get seen on LinkedIn Live. So
I
we need to
love
keep
that.
we
That
need
that
to
that That's a
go ahead.
that's a good one though, that, keep track of your content. Know where it is and be able to find it, and we could do a whole show on that one.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
It's about variety. So, one of the things I've talked about is I love videos. I could do videos every day, but I don't because the link well, first of all, it's a lot of time, but also too, the LinkedIn doesn't want just the same content from you over and over and over again.
Right.
That's why I always tell people be very, very careful when you sign up for the 80 days of video challenge, because by about the fourth day, I'm falling
Yeah.
asleep. So it's like you've got to have variety. If it's always the same kind of post, it's a bit of a sleeper.
Well, and here's the real key that in my humble opinion, again, as a help to someone who's getting started in content, try the different kinds. Okay.
Mm,
I mean, there's a really easy way for you to figure out what might work and what might not work is if you just go to your homepage and click, start a post, because
right.
it's got all kinds of templates that will help you figure out which you want to add a document, you want to add a video, you want to add a picture, you want to add, etc. Okay. And I think you should try. Oh, would you like to do a poll?
Yep.
That's one of my pet peeves because I've never really liked polls. But again,
You
it
should try
works.
it, but you should try.
I
Everybody should
did
try it.
exactly. I
Everybody
did,
should try
and
it.
here's honestly here's one of the things. What you're going to do when you look at the variety is you got to figure out what that sweet spot is for the type of content as well. Okay,
Mhm.
so for example, mine ends up being at least an image, or if nothing else, and preferably a GIF as far as my content is concerned. Every single one of my posts has it as a GIF. Okay, Tuesday Mothers Choose GIF. I remember that one too. That's in an old live. Okay, so so the point being is that I tried post and I didn't really like it. Okay. And LinkedIn loved post for a while, but you know what? The algorithm's always going to give you different results depending on the day of the week it is anyway.
They're
It's
probably gonna
great.
come back in style because nobody's doing them anymore.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know
Well, and again, try that variety. And again, I think you end up finding a sweet spot because there's a balancing act in there about what is of interest to other people, what will gather a lot of attention for other people. Videos are great for that, okay? And the algorithm itself will then reward that, in different ways because different types of posts get rewarded differently as far as the algorithm is concerned. But don't make it all about the algorithm, but make it about what works well for you, okay?
I love that.
Because I do document posts, I do an occasional video post, although again a lot of my video posts are you and me.
Right.
Well,
Right.
because this ends up being a video post for me, right?
Right, right.
Uh,
And
so
my snippet, when I take
yeah,
a
yeah,
live and
yeah.
I repurpose it and make it a snippet, those 2.
Exactly. So try all of that variety just to determine what is out there in the first place. And the one that I again just don't get involved in as much, although I've done them, is that a text only post. Just if I were to do it, it was the same thing what you mentioned before. If I were to do a text only post, people would be going, "Who are you
Huh?
and what have you done with Jeff Young?" Okay, because I just don't do a post with an image of some sort, right? But,
Right,
but
right.
text only, in terms of the people that I've talked to, says, well, that's one of the best posts from an algorithm standpoint. Okay, fine, it
But it
is.
may not work for you, may
It
not
just
work for
doesn't,
you, and
in
and
my
I
opinion.
do those occasionally, like, I don't even have, like, a set time, I just kinda, like, if it's kind of like I wake up and I have, like, a thought, those are they're kinda like me thinking on
Yeah,
paper, then
post-it
it's
notes.
like I go with it, and it's just a thought, and I wanna just communicate that idea, so it's just one, but usually it's a personal thing, like, "Oh, I was walking today and I saw this thing," whatever.
Yeah.
So, I don't think I'd say, "Here's how you make a video." Make it a text post to be like, So, yeah, that's very important. Okay, and then the last one. numbers are not the most important thing. So forget the whole vanity metrics, I went viral. You can go viral for the wrong reasons. And it's
Yep.
not, I don't know how many people write about I went viral and I don't really know that was really such a good thing because it kept me busy
They
for
don't
a
know
week,
why. They
Yeah.
can't really say why, and it's probably not repeatable. Okay,
No.
so again, to me, there's a consistency factor here that plays into this because of the fact that I want my numbers to continue to stay at least the same or go up. Okay,
Yeah.
but from that standpoint, just don't do it for the numbers themselves. Do it for something that gets the results, and use the numbers to determine whether or not you are actually not comparing yourself to anyone else, but comparing yourself
No.
to yourself so that you are
Yes.
improving over time.
Yes.
So for
Yes.
example, one of the things that people should know about this by now, but in case they don't, okay, one of the really nice little measurements and metrics that I use all the time is I'll go out there to my last post and then look maybe in a longer than a week time frame, but I'll click on the number of impressions, okay, and then look at the analytics. And then what I will do is I will take the total of the number of reactions, the number of comments, and the number of shares, and I will divide that number by the total number of impressions. And what that
Mm.
gives you is what they call engagement percentage. Okay.
Mm.
Now, believe me, when you start looking at this, we're not talking about 50%. Okay. If you're doing well, you're hitting somewhere between when you get a number, okay, when you divide one into the other and you come up with a number, that number should be somewhere between 3 and 5%. And if you're doing better than 5%, you're doing a whole lot better than I'll ever do. Okay.
That's
But
interesting.
but as long as you can keep it somewhere in there, there's enough interest, okay? Because remember, again, this is something that goes out to a huge number of people potentially, right? Okay.
Right.
But I got to guarantee you that my numbers can show and I can prove that it's not just about my network, it's about my network, okay, in a
Yep.
much broader sense. Because if you really believed what they said about the algorithm, for example, okay, and if you put out a post and that post actually went to 10%, I've heard this figure. I don't know whether it's still true or not. Who can tell? But if your post went out to 10% of your first degree connections, okay, for me, that would be 60 people. Believe me, I get a whole lot more
Wow.
than 60 views every single
Yep.
post I do.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm averaging like 5 to 6,000 per post, views,
Wow.
impressions, if you will. Okay, which
Wow.
is perfectly fine with me. That's a good average. That's what I want to keep it at, et cetera. Oh, and by the way, that's on a. I say 5 to 6,000 because depending on the type of content, that changes over time as well. A regular post, like I did about the one about vacation, okay, got quite a bit more because it got quite a bit of
Because it was
activity,
personal.
engagement. Exactly right.
It was
But
personal.
newsletters is looked at differently in that long form, long term content. And
Mm.
I can prove to you because I've looked at the statistics that actually gets about 1,000 more views than any one of my regular posts.
Wow.
Well, and
Wow.
again, it's about building readership, following, et cetera. I went back in August of 2020. Okay, I had let's see, August of 2020, I had 21,000 followers. Here we are 2 years later. I have 42,000 followers. I have doubled my followers in 2 years.
Wow. Wow.
In August of 2020, I had never even published a newsletter. Okay,
Mm.
so I had zero. Now, 2 years later, I have 25,000 subscribers. Okay.
Mm.
So again, it's not about the numbers, but the numbers are important in terms of looking at what you've done over time. And it takes time to get there. You can't just look at one thing and say, I'm a success or I'm a failure. It just doesn't work
No.
that
No, and yet you have to stay in your own lane. Plus, also too, you have to grow your network to at least a certain amount of followers or connections, or else you're just not getting in front of enough people
way.
in the
Exactly.
first place. And that is one thing where I've seen people make excellent content, excellent videos, sliders, articles, whatever, but their network is so small and it could be a very inactive network of just the original people they connected with on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So that's why you have to have a strategy of building your network, commenting on other people's posts so that you become more visible. There's almost like a dance you do with all of this. So this is just the content side of that whole equation. So we might have to come back and talk about growing your follower base, your connections enough that your content is in front of a good number of people. So maybe that would be a good follow-up to come back and
Sure.
talk about
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
absolutely.
So in the meantime, should we do some comments?
Oh, yeah,
Because
we've ignored the comments way
we
too
have a
long.
lot. Oh, we have our lovely, lovely Craig Allen. Oh, I feel right at home here with two of my besties sending tons of love from Bonnie, Scotland. Love Scotland. Hello, Jillian and guest. We got Jeff Young in the house today. Woohoo! Hi, Jillian and Jeff. I'm here in London waiting to see Coldplay. So I
Oh,
thought I'd
wow.
stop on by. Well, that's kind of cool. She's
Yeah.
jet
We're the
setting
opening
all
act for
over.
Coldplay.
Woo! Hi, Debbie. I love when people talk
Oh,
back and forth in the
there's
comments. It's
Debbie.
always amazing. Definitely agree with Jeff's point of having the ability to connect with creators. Yeah, that and that is probably a really big mistake in that a lot of people very quickly went, okay, I want to be a creator. I went into creator mode, but they have a really small network. And so for them, being follow first, if you're below 500 connections,
Yeah.
it's really not a good idea. So I know different LinkedIn experts and trainers. I'll recommend a different amount. Is there a number that you would kind of recommend before you switch over to follow first?
No, I think it all depends on what kind of results you're getting as you go. Okay.
Okay.
I don't think that there's a magic number. I mean,
Okay.
for example, we got to mention, speaking of really great content, okay, John Isberian, okay, and I want to point people toward John's book, Content DNA,
It's
because from a
fabulous.
personal perspective, that is the absolute best book I've ever seen about content on LinkedIn, okay, and building a brand. So I want to mention that. I think John says that you should have at least 1,000 followers. Okay, that's as valid
That's
a
a good
number as
number. That's a good number. That's a
yeah,
good,
that's as
which is
valid as
kind of twice that 500 that like LinkedIn stops showing, your actual numbers. So,
yeah.
you're kind of, I always tell people when you're starting on LinkedIn, you're kind of really focused on getting that first 500. That really should be, and, of course, having your profile already too. That's so
Yeah,
important.
which will help.
I was creating consistent content years prior to the launch of
Absolutely.
creator mode as well.
Creator
Yeah.
mode
Yeah.
was just a method for LinkedIn to start focusing on the creators of content because I think they've constantly wanted to get that number more and more people, et cetera, right? And I still think out of the 850 million people, there's only like 3 to 5 million of us that actually create content on a weekly basis. It's just
Wow.
extremely small, which
Wow.
makes it an
Wow.
easy way for you to differentiate yourself as well and show up.
Exactly. So there's lots of room. There's lots of room. And LinkedIn is incredible with the organic reach, and this is the thing that I think shines LinkedIn above the other social platforms. And I don't want to diss Facebook, but Facebook became, you have to pay to play. It was very, very difficult to make it organically. And you can still do that on LinkedIn. So now is the time. Okay, yes, content is currency that we each keep in our wallet. It's such a great phrase, isn't it?
Yep.
It's such a great phrase. Thank you. Thank you. Even with creator mode on, people can still connect to us. It just takes an extra step.
Yeah.
And that's so true because that's when you have to go to the more and the click but I think the thing is that if somebody is new to LinkedIn, they don't know what that
I don't
extra
know that.
step is, and that's what I think is so frustrating because I know sometimes I know you give so many workshops, Jeff, that you might say to people, "Hey, connect with me afterwards," and they're just like they're sending you in mails. They don't really know how
Yeah.
to do
Yeah,
it.
they don't know how.
So that's very frustrating. That's frustrating. Oh, our friend Seb,
I
be
said,
great. Be great at one thing. That is so true. That is so true. And it was interesting. I was listening to John talking on the Change Zone yesterday on YouTube with Gail McDonnell and Susan Sneath. And he was talking about being known for one thing, but being able to do more. And I
yeah,
like that.
I
That
like
was
that
a
too. Well,
that was a Good
in terms of
takeaway.
what Seb is saying there, a jack of all trades is a master of none. So, yeah, I've seen that happen, right? But again, we talked about the variety. So
Yep.
having a variety is important as far as this is concerned too.
And by the way, there's more to that quote, and I forgot what it was, but
Oh,
there's more
sorry.
to that quote that's actually good. Okay. I love when people are saying hi to each other. It is so cool. It is so cool. Be exceptional. That
Yes,
is
the E and give is exceptional.
yes. I like that. I like that. Nobody wants to read meh. Meh, meh,
Yeah,
meh
really.
just doesn't do well. Providing value with our content is key to LinkedIn being a social selling platform. That's like, okay, quote of the live. That's a
No, that's a
good
good
one.
one. It is a
That's a
very
good
good one. I
one.
mean, and you can even remove the word selling, and it's still valid. Okay,
Yes.
all
Yes.
social interactivity is about value. Okay.
Yes, yes. And it's funny because people always say, "Is LinkedIn B2C or B2B?" And I always say it's P2P. It's people to people.
Yep.
People to people.
Exactly.
Okay, Jeff. So we're at our 30 minutes because it just like always zooms by. So what's the takeaway that you would leave us today, the sage wisdom you'd like to share?
Well, I think, one of the things that I want to point people to is actually way back in August of 2020, my second newsletter. Okay. And it was called The Anatomy of a LinkedIn Post. It was my
Mm,
second newsletter. It was the first time I ever got to collaborate with the great Stella Da Silva. Okay. Stella Da Silva. Okay.
she's great.
And so it was a wonderful way of explaining what the posts are about, how frequently you should post. And the funny thing is, it's just about as valid now as it was 2 years ago because it
Mm,
really hasn't changed. The kinds of things that you can do. I mean, 2 years ago when I first did that post, you couldn't even do a poll because
mm,
meanwhile, back at polls, we talked about the fact that, I love LinkedIn because LinkedIn giveth, LinkedIn taketh away, and sometimes LinkedIn giveth back. And polls is one of those that's right there. Polls were there. Nope. LinkedIn took it away. You know why LinkedIn took it away? Because nobody used it. I wonder
mm.
why nobody used it because nobody knew about it, right? Okay, and then LinkedIn brought it back and they put it in as the wonderful star of the algorithm. And guess what? People are starting to use it. Amazing how that works.
Yep.
So
Yep.
so point it to that so that you can get a look at this in terms of my overall philosophy about this. And I know that people may be getting tired of me saying this, okay, but I'll finish it off with my 3 C's. Okay, content is king, context is King Kong, okay, and consistency is King Kong's mother. Okay, so
Mm.
you know now, I want to mention one more. I didn't get to mention nearly the number of people I wanted to mention here. I want to mention one person in terms of Sarah Clay because I told her I would. In
Oh,
terms of because Sarah, the lovely Sarah Clay, does a every Monday post that says this is what to post this week on Monday. Okay, so
she's
she actually has
fabulous.
something that keeps LinkedIn simplified by posting something out there like that. And I want to also bring up our very good friend Kevin D. Turner, and
Oh,
because we had a conversation earlier today that was about curating your content. And I think
mm,
that's important as well. We didn't get to the aspect of where I will add another C, comments are queen, okay, in terms of what you do and curating your content there. Now, Kevin's post was curating your content against haters, fakes,
mm,
and bots. Fine.
mm.
But you also need to curate your content from the standpoint of what people are saying and the engagement of it as well. Because again, if you don't show up, why would they want to be there if you never show up to even
Yeah.
interact? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's
make
good.
it your
That's
own.
good. Super, super. Okay, well, thank you for joining us, everybody, and we'll see you next time. And thank you very much for being here today, Jeff. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. I had a wonderful
Okay,
time as always.
okay. Bye, everybody.